Hello everyone, welcome back to Resistant Front. My name is Saeed and we're going to have a special episode today. We're going to talk about democracy, or better say, why democracy sucks. Why in these past couple of years we can see the rise of fascism and the rise of radicalism, and obviously the authoritarian governments are actually coming out from the shadows of United States unilateralism for 3 decades. So let's talk about democracy, shall we? Democracy itself, it's not a value. It's not something that you can boast about it. You can't talk like, yeah, we have democracy, you don't. It's not gonna work like that. Okay, you should always approach to every matter as logical and unbiased as possible. You should think about everything, a ladder that you should climb. Is the democracy the most efficient way of governing? Is democracy going to represent truly the people? Is democracy going to be the best way of governing? We should actually think about that. We should talk about that. And most of the time, you can see that a lot of democratic countries, they have a lot of problems. As a person that lived in his entire life in a democratic country, I can definitely tell you that we have a lot of problems. A lot of problems that many people might not have an answer for. But what is democracy? What is good about democracy? That after seeing, and I'm going to talk about them, all the problems that the democracy has, or at least everything that I come up with. What's up with democracy that actually makes it look appealing? Why do you prefer democracy over monarchism or over communism or any kind of other way of governing? What's the difference between a constitutional republic, and what's the difference with absolute democracy, or simply going totally anarchy? I believe, as a man who believes in democracy and as a man who uh, like democracy flourish all over the world, not by force but by understanding that how democracy can be beneficial for your country and how it can be beneficial for the entire nation. So first of all, you need to understand that it's not a perfect way of governing. It has a lot of flaws that you need to think about. You need to understand them. You need to find solution for all those problems that democracy in its nature has. I say in nature, democracies all over the world are different. They varies. There are a lot of them. You can have a constitutional democracy like inside United States. It's a republic. You have a conditioned monarchy, parliamentary election like UK. You have democracy inside France. So you have democracy in Iran. You have democracy in Russia. The democracy concept actually varies, and every country depends on their values that they and principles they hold dear. They actually create their democracy upon those values. Every country have their own concept, and they have their own values, and it should be respected. So this concept is actually a filter that who you should put up there as a politician. So let's talk about those problems. The problems that principles and democracy and those above can actually create. I see principles and I see the people. People, principles, and administration. They should all be connected. if they all connected, the politicians are connected to principles, and principles are connected to people, and people are connected to the government. This is a full functioning democracy that can actually move toward a better thing, that those principles actually move you. So principles actually rise the people and make them more intelligent. And and when you are becoming intellectual and you are educated on the matters that actually your culture, your religion, your principles actually bring you up and raise your level of awareness. And when you when the total and general of the people actually get to that position, you can see the rise of great leaders. So, and those great leaders, they understand that this circle should continue, and they will try to they try to advocate and advertise all those principles that they hold dear. And the opposite can be true as well. If people are separated from the principles, or politicians are separated from people or principles, you get an unfunctionable democracy. So we're going to talk about the first and foremost, the politicians themselves. The politicians, you can see, we are living. Most of us are living. I don't want to say all. We mostly live in democratic countries, and when you live in these societies, you can understand there are some flaws that are hurting the democracy itself, and all those people that are above actually are hurting the democracy when they act in a certain manner. For example, I'm going to talk about the oligarchs, the men behind the scene, those that are they don't want to be under the spotlight. They want the world to see the politicians and blame the politicians for every dubious action that they make, all the policies that they are trying to represent, not for the people, for those oligarchs, for those elites, for all those people behind the scene, the deep state. So you can see these are not some people that have to be some rich people. It can be another government. Even another government can come and actually um, interfere with your democratic elections and actually pull off someone out of their hat in order to represent them and their interests. First thing that I would like to talk is campaigns. The election campaigns themselves are one of the biggest problems that democracies have. So these campaigns, they need money, and most of the time politicians are either they're not willing to spend their own and personal money to gain power, or simply someone else is just in front of their eyes. They're willing to spend their money, their hard earned money, in order to bring them up to represent them in those elites, not the people. So there are a lot of people that come in and start funding these campaigns and donating to these campaigns in order to, in the future, if then they mostly play both sides. They don't care. These most of the democratic countries are indeed two parties. So the parties wide themselves enough to everyone can come in and be counted as their hemisphere or their part of the aisle. But you can see that all of these actors are behind the scene. They are not taking the responsibility of all these actions, and most of the time, politicians' job actually is simply to cover all these policies that are not for the people, to the way that it's appeal to people, and people don't actually start digging about what's going on behind the scene. Most of the time, they are being paid. Most of the time, they are trying to sell themselves to the higher bidder, and this is actually hurting democracy a lot, because after a while, when people see that it doesn't matter how much they're participating in that democracy, their needs are not being met. So simply, they're not there for the people. They're there for their own benefit because they want to stay in power to get rich, and they want and others want them to stay in power in order to they can benefit from it. That's one of the major problems with every democracy that we have today. And there are a lot of solutions for that, and a lot of countries are moving toward limiting those donations and trying to make everything transparent or outright banning it. Another solution is let's make foundation. All people can participate in democracy. They can pay to that foundation, and all the money should be spend it on all the nominees equally. So that way, nobody actually taking advantage of a certain amount of money. And you can outright banning all sort of advertisement outside, and this money should be actually spent on exact amount, and everything at least getting a little bit more fair. That's one of the major problems. But another problem is the politicians are humans as well. And politicians are coming out of the society that they are born in. So the politicians are not aliens. They're not supposed to come from another country and make the policies for you. So politicians are you. It doesn't matter how much you try to perpetrate them as someone that they know better. They are human beings. They can mistake, and those mistakes, it depends on how much power they hold, can be devastating for the whole nation. So simply put, we need to help them. We need to help them. We need to raise our voice every time that we see something that looks wrong. We should raise our voice in order to uh, create dissent against the policies that we see undemocratic, or simply it's not adding up with the values and principles that we have. So another problem is politicians are living in the divide of two groups of people. Politicians live in the gap that they created within the people, or someone else created it and they are exploiting it, or simply it did exist and they can exploit it. So it doesn't matter what you do. Politicians always try to create white and black. They try their best to actually separate people from one another. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be economy, it can be culture, it can be religion. Everything that can be divided, they will divide it. Okay, they will divide it in order to have and can secure their own vote, and they can run their campaign on those principles and problems. Most of the time, the problems has been created by those people. For example, you can see that huge divide between Americans are being formed today between religious beliefs and LGBT that some certain groups are trying to push toward people. This will create a huge divide. The same thing happening in Iran, hijab and those that don't want to wear hijab. This has actually created huge gap in Iran. And what should we do about this? I believe in Iran, there are a lot of people that they don't see everything as political. They don't want to support one political group. And this act of sabotage to democracy is actually bringing back people together. This sabotage, why I say it's sabotage, because it's the nature of democracy. So you should divide people in order to conquer them and conquer their votes. So the more these issues are radicalized, and the more you actually push people toward it, even you can pay to some people, make some moves that actually people pay more attention to it. For example, in United States, you can see that they're taking people's children because simply the child said that, yeah, there is just two gender. My parents told me that there are just two genders, and because of that they're taking away their children. And that's matter of fact, that's actually, most people don't care, most people don't give a damn about the policies until it affects their lives. And when it affects their lives, they actually start caring about it. In Iran, death of a young girl, Mahsa Amini, in the custody of police. His death was totally obvious. Everything was on camera. She wasn't killed. She wasn't mistreated, but she had, unfortunately, a disease, and she passed away on the spot. And unfortunately, it was a devastating thing that happened to all Iranians. But you can see a huge divide start being formed, and a lot of politicians actually start pulling fuel on this fire. So that actually created a riot. It wasn't that big of a deal because it was something natural, that we see emotions actually coming up. But the protests actually became so violent so fast, because of the fuel that was not from inside, from outside. More than 70,000 weapons were actually confiscated on our border, because United States and Israel wanted to bring in all these weapons in order to start a civil war in Iran. But Iran has a huge and a strong, and principled people. So all these people helped one another to create all sorts of systems and groups in order to prevent these kind of things from happening. So you can see that the divide between hijab and anti-hijab, or those that don't want to wear hijab, is actually being widened, and it will create conflict between the people. But the politicians are thriving in that environment. So what do we need to do? You can see in our society we have a supreme leader, and the job of supreme leader in these times is to put back everything together and create the structure one more time. And that's the job of supreme leader in Iran. uh, Supreme leader is not there to govern, okay? It's there to show the way and pave the way in order to everything start coming together and galvanizing in order to make toward the goal. That's the job of supreme leader. Most of the time you can see in other countries they have a deep state behind the scene. They are trying to do the same. Most of the time they are unsuccessful because of the amount of distrust that those countries actually created against the deep state. But fortunately in Iran we can see the moments that happened. Supreme leader actually pulled off, and actually brought in with himself a bucket of water, and he actually turned the heat down. And he told his own followers that are revolutionary, they are religious, that guys, tolerate. This is not time for divide. And to those, to others, said, "You are my daughters, okay? You are my sons." And these are the principles that if we do not hold, everything will tear apart. And you can see after that it was a lot more ease on hijab, and the morality police was totally demolished. So democracy is actually can reform itself in order to ease the tension, if someone else above actually tell the democracy to work to a certain area. Because if that didn't exist, you can see it goes to the it goes so radical, it becomes so radical that someone picks up arm and actually shoots someone like Charlie Kirk. uh, you can see that divide is actually need to put down someone with a bucket of water should exist in order to take down all these tensions and bring back together. People should actually start galvanizing and not being torn apart and divided, because the more divided you are, the easier you are in order to be conquered by those elites. So another problem that we have with administration is actually there is no standard. What are the standards for the administrative position to be given to someone? Do you have experience? Do you have a degree? Do you have did you ever had any kind of position beforehand? Um, these things should exist. These things should be solid, uh, a solid list that you should tick before you let someone else to come and represent a country and get the vote. The voting itself is not a validation for someone that is actually capable of running a country. Uh, there is an actually an example. For example, you have two pilots. One of them, it's not a pilot. It don't have an experience, but telling you that I'm wearing the uniform, so I'm allowing all of you guys come to first class, and I will the coffee will be free. So the other ones tell you that I will pilot the whole plane with the standards, and you will get to the place safely. So you can see these kind of rhetoric are being pushed toward the people in order to get the votes of the people and actually act not in their interest, but the interest of those that are behind the scene. And it actually can create a lot of problem. So and let's not talk about incompetency of these people when they get to power, when they don't have experience, when they don't have ideology, when they don't know what to do. For example, our president, I don't see him as a man that who knows what he is doing. He always talk about that what should we do? You tell me what to do. And these kind of people don't have anything that actually they might have even principles. They might even have a degree, but when there is no ideology and how you should run a country, you can see that it turns the people's life a living hell. So there should be uh, some some council, something that actually judge the nominees. So in order to bring them up and put them in front of people's eyes, in order to people vote for them. And we do have that in Iran. It's called Guardian Council. Guardian Council, the job of the Guardian Council is to start reading the profile of every nominees, and they try to there is a checklist for it. So let's see who you are and what you ever done. And obviously the ideology is not something that you can disqualify someone for it, and that's something that people should vote for. But unfortunately, sometimes people make bad decisions. Some people like Trump actually come to office, and you can see they're wasting every resource that the country has for stupid projects and stupid things like going war in this country and that country. These things happens. Another problem that democracy has is actually the lack of long-term plans. Most administrative and government officials, they try to make everything that they have in a short amount of time. So the quality, the planning, all these will be shortened. And most of the time, these plans are long term, and you can't actually do a solid work in just 4 years or 6 years. So you need to understand that these flaws exist. So you can see that all countries have a plan to move forward, a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 25-year plan. So these plans actually tell the administrative, and these are mostly being passed in majlis, parliaments, senates. So they try to pass these as law in order to administrative governments. They have to follow these alongside every short and temporary problem that they are trying to pursue. Another one is actually something that is hurting the development and the efficiency of democracy is actually the administratives are not interested in any kind of small projects. Mega projects are the ones that actually hurting the countries. Big projects, they actually sell and they get the votes. So I can dare say that most problems are not being solved by mega projects. Most problems are being solved by small projects that mostly counted as uh, municipal responsibilities, but in fact when you are not getting votes for it, they are not trying to fix those issues, but you can see that this is not buying you any votes, so they are not interested to that, so they'll let it go and the infrastructure starts degrading and makes you look like a third world country. So the problems with administrative is done. Let's talk about democracy itself. Democracy has some issues that comes from the nature of it. Democracy is slow. Democracy and the bureaucracy that comes with democracy is actually making everything slow and inefficient. Uh, I can I can tell you that the graph of how democracy and efficiency are and their relationship toward one another are working is like you go up the more you give more democratic way of governing inside democratic government. You can give a lot of uh, democratic councils that they work in order to solve the problems in the more democratic ways. So if this goes too much, the efficiency will actually increase by some amount of it. But if you do it too much, you will actually start decreasing. The more you move toward democracy, the less efficient you will become. So you need to have some sort of balance here, and not allowing the administrative positions actually run away from the responsibility, because most of the time they create for every problem they create some sort of cancel in order to get away from the responsibility. If so many people are coming up with the solution, then the responsibility will not fall on someone specific. So everyone can blame one another and nobody can take responsibility, and that's the issue. So that's one of the major problems that democracy itself as an institution and it's a way of governing has. Another problem is actually the information. The misinformation and disinformation are the ones that hurting a democracy. You can see propaganda is being made, disinformation and misinformation from inside are being made, and the war, the civil war. I mean, a civilized war. The civilized war inside the power structure from left and right, they are actually pushing all sort of disinformation and misinformation toward one another in order to kick the other one's vote box, in order to bring down their votes and bring it in their own pocket, or at least they don't vote for those guys. I believe the main mission of every government should be uh, to give more encouragement to people to vote. Okay, a lot more should participate in elections, and more they are, the more represented they are. Another problem that exists is actually undemocratic people, people that don't believe in democracy. They have no intention to keep the democracy. They don't hold any kind of democratic values. and principles that those democracies are being based upon. These people come in a skin of sheep, and they want to overthrow the governments, or they want to actually rule as an authoritarian government. And these guys that are separating themselves from the people and principles, they're actually they're tyrannical democracies. In these, people can rule for 4 years, and if they are not being confronted by check and balances that exist in democratic countries, judiciary and the parliament or majlis, if these ones are being weakened, you can see a rise of a dictator comes to power, and they will never go away. And that's another threat toward democracy. And we should pay attention to these kind of things. For example, you can see Trump is talking about the third term. Uh, and this is not something that looks appealing. You know, these are actually red flags. Everyone should care about these kind of statements, and people should not cheer for it, because it will open a Pandora box for death of the democracy in those countries. Another problem that democracies have is actually the general good for the people. What is a common good for the people? This is actually really controversial for a lot of democracies. Most of the time, some democracies claim that we should always appeal to people in everything that people thinks we should do. What if some certain amount of people, the majority, want to exterminate all the minorities? Is that a valid way of common good for the people? Is that something that a democratic country should do? I don't believe that. Excluding people from the power, so that's not something that appealing to me, and it should not appeal to any democratic country, or simply give away everything that people want. That can hurt. That's why I believe that principles, the major principles of every country that mostly are religious or based upon a philosophy, these are should be held really dear to their hearts. Because if you lose those principles, if people lose it, if administrative officials lose it, you can see everything that was built upon democracy is actually start crumbling. And you can see the rise of vicious and totally uh, immoral people to the official administrative. This is mostly on the people, and that's the third and final issue that democracy has. And the final issue is the people. We should always understand that people are the ones that are voting, and people are the ones that have the power in their hand in every democratic society. So we are the ones that actually should keep our eyes uh, on the goal, and the goal is to solve the problems democratically. And you should not move toward authoritarianism, but you should understand that people themselves, uh, most of the time, bring up all these uh, immoral leaders. So these immoral leaders are coming up because people are waiting for them. That's the reality. That's the reality that unfortunately we are facing. The lack of information, and the lack of interest. People should be interested in their own problems. People should be interested. The government should provide for them. Government should not stop them from the good, and they should promote the good things in the values and principles they have. Government should represent all those principles. And at the same time, people should actually start educating themselves and ask for right thing, uh, because most of the time politicians are actually uh, they're playing you, you know. They always bring up something that it doesn't exist. It's not the issue that you have, like LGBT in United States. This is not going to solve anything in your country. The fight and divide between abortion, that's not something that it shouldn't be a problem. It should be something that totally be confronted rationally and logically. So you should understand that every problem has a solution, and that solution is not black and white. It's not 100%. You can actually uh, address those issues without any kind of controversy. But unfortunately, that's not going to buy you any vote. And that's the problem of the people. That's our problem. Uh, most of the time, we either want the radical left or radical right. We never go for the between. And Islam, as a Muslim person, in as a Shia, all the time our imams and the religion itself, the Islam, always call upon something between, something that actually has a balance of these scales. So you should actually care about that as well. Another thing is the slogans, the lies, the populistic ideas that they are bringing in. For example, we can all remember the first democratic thing that we ever participated is in the high school and in the schools, the council of students, all the students coming up and saying, "Yeah, I will make the whole yard out of grass for football. I will do this, I will do that." The same principles actually goes for the politicians. When they want to be elected, they give you a lot of promises, and those promises should have some responsibility and weight behind them. So I believe there should be new laws being passed in every country, that you can write down all these slogans, and before any vote being casted on those slogans, because you don't vote for the guy, you vote for the principles that he held in everything that he's trying to make your life better for. So you need to vote for that. And I believe that it can be a small group of people, intellectuals, about that certain slogan. They can question the president, how you can get to that, how you want to do it. And based upon those slogans, you actually can choose. And that guardian council of ours can actually choose that can you come to the next round of elections or not. Because if you didn't do any of those slogans, if they were just empty promises, you should not be allowed to come for office once again. So another problem that people had, actually, the dictatorship of majority. Majority dictatorship is a concept that gets back to, and its roots are actually back to Greece. Uh, so you see, the concept is like this: because we are majority and we vote this guy to be represent us, that means you don't have any right. You cannot actually have any kind of objection toward it because we are the majority. That's actually wrong. The other 49% should actually have representative inside the government, and the government itself should not be separated from anyone. So you always should understand, when you are being elected, you should govern the whole country, not your own constituents. So that's another thing that uh, it's a fault of the people. They always say, "Okay, this is our turn. You guys can shut up." That's not how democracy should operate. And the more deeper your democracy is, the more the less likely that someone with a simple change of government can change your whole policies from foreign affairs to domestic affairs. So the deeper your democracy is the more connected are all those administratives to the people in order to make those policies. They always ask the people, what do you need, and are you do you agree with this policy? But at the same time, they should understand that the principles are the ones that should move you, not what people always want, because not some people, as I said, and I refer to it, if an evil action was something that people ask for it. For example, you can see that in United Kingdom, people are asking for immigration to actually be more limited, and people should be thrown out of the country. And they have a certain issues with Muslim communities, and they believe that their values are not adding up with them. But this is not something that a government should, a real and deep democratic government should actually try to push. It's something that you should remind them their principles, remind them their religion, remind them, and you should meet at something between. But unfortunately, you can see that politicians are actually getting behind the right, far left and far right. Some people say immigration is the best and we should bring all people from all over the world to our country. Another one says no, we should throw them all out. This is not something that you can run a country with, and these issues are the major problems that are dragging us down, and the development is starting to slow down, the efficiency is start to slow down, and all these small problems that can be solved easily with a little bit more understanding of the people toward the democratic values. And I believe that every one of us can actually have a better life if we understand the politics better and we actually participate in it. So, guys, that was a general opinion of mine about the problems that democratic countries have and democracy itself has. So, let me know. Do you agree? Did I miss something? If you have the power to like, subscribe, and watch other videos, it would be lovely. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your support. Goodbye.